Hey,
Hello there.
how's it going?
Well, this will be exciting.
Yeah,
Nice to be able to talk to you and hopefully some others as well.
yeah. We got a few people with us here. Just call out a few names real quick in the chat. I see Van Johnson, Anthony Halseal. I see Eric Miller, Matthew Scott, Jesse Arnold. Anybody else? If you're posting comments, if you didn't click that link that we had up to allow Facebook comments on here, we may not be able to see your name on there, but we'll be kind of monitoring the comments as we go. We've kind of got a format laid out here that we're going to go through in a second on, kind of how we want this to go, but we're just going to try to have some fun, see what's
Yeah.
going on. I see LeBron.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Curtis. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. So you want to pull up the slides on the agenda?
Absolutely. Let's do that. So this is the plan, right? For this chit chat sculpt session that we're doing. You wanted to first ask me how I got started. I'm gonna show some slides about some sculpts early and mainly early sculpts, and then I'm gonna tell everyone what tools I'm using, what my main tools are for sculpting, and then we'll sculpt something.
Yeah. So we kind of, going into this, we wanted to kind of figure out what the format would look like, and I don't think this is going to be a beginning to end tutorial on how to use ZBrush. So if that's what you guys are expecting, there is going to be quite a bit of sculpting in ZBrush here, and we are going to fill some questions, but this is not going to be a start to finish tutorial. We're going to, like Emil said, we're going to kind of show some of the things that he sculpted so far, kind of talk about what got him into it, kind of the basic tools, and then we'll spend a majority of the session actually going through a sculpt. And the sculpt that we decided to do today is a dwarf. So Emil will be starting from scratch and making a dwarf sculpt. So kind of
and I mean, even though we're saying it's not a complete tutorial, all questions are welcome, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There are no tricks that we want to try to hide or anything. So it's just we just can't take everything in just the first next week the tutorial. We shall see
how this goes. Yeah, let's see how this goes. I think both Emil and I both got some new equipment for this. Emil kind of learned a little bit about StreamYard, so we'll see how this goes. And if it seems to be a popular segment, we can see, kind of where it takes us. So,
yeah.
All right. You want to get into how you got started with sculpting?
Sure, let's do that. And that's this is not going to be a long session. It's not going to be a biography of me, but let's say it started in the summer of 2019. So I found this great toy line that you guys know about called Mythic Legions. I instantly fell in love with it, and after a while I realized I wanted to sculpt something on my own. I actually needed a head for a character that I was putting together. It would be a custom Baron Volliger because I didn't have the Baron Volliger figure, but it's okay. So I needed to make a head.
So just to clarify, this is your very first sculpt. Like obviously you've done a lot of artwork in the past, drawing and whatnot, but this is the first time that you actually use ZBrush.
Yeah, when I opened ZBrush and started to play around with it, and it was kind of one of those moments that I fell in love with the software. So,
yeah.
And
yeah. So I guess I got to ask this question on behalf of Eric Miller and I think quite a few other people's. Are you just excellent at everything you touch for the first time? Is it just it's like whether it's painting or sculpting or dioramas, like you just get into it and everything comes easy? Is that kind of how that goes?
No, No.
This is amazing. What I'm seeing here is amazing for especially first time being in that.
Well, you have to think about it like this. It is one art form and another, but it's you're picking up things everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you watch, and the more you do art, the more you assimilate stuff, what you're seeing around you. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So I know we were talking. Eric says you need to slow your roll, man. You're making the rest of us look bad. I know we were talking a little bit before, leading up to this live stream, and obviously before sculpting, you had experience in other art forms in terms of dealing with the anatomy and the facial structures, and So can you talk a little bit about how that comes into play when you then decide to start sculpting?
Well, in some way, this is easier. When you draw, you have to think 3D. In 3D, you can do 3D.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm an expert in anatomy at all. This is something that I'm constantly learning, and people who look at this can see that there are many anatomical things that are wrong. So I just wanted to show you that this is how it started, and it's mainly been me focusing on sculpting heads after this. I mean,
this one here says Facebook user, but this is Stephen Bishotti. Says you were born knowing how to do everything.
No, and the thing is, I have to say something, because sculpting in ZBrush, I'm saying that I love the program and whatever, but there have been so many hundreds of frustrating hours, that you're really super upset that things are not going, and every time you do something it crashes, and then it's like you have so many hours of watching tutorials to try to figure out what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of time, so you have to like what you're doing, but it's so much frustration also. Okay.
Sorry, just some of these comments. This one is from Maverick. He says, one day Emil gave a sculpted head to a little boy and told him about art. That little boy was Stephen Bishotti. So,
okay, so
I know we're going to get into it, and you've got a lot more history, but just give me a quick, how did this connection between you and Stephen start? Like, what started? Because I'm one of the people that absolutely loves the God's Fire series. Can you just talk about where that connection was made and how that blossomed into this beautiful love that you now have for each other?
I think if we wait 2 slides, I think that will make a better story there.
Okay. All right. We'll save it.
So this was the first sculpt I just wanted to show you, because, and obviously opening ZBrush was because I needed to know how to make. I had seen Sebadam's sculpts, so his stuff was a great inspiration, and I needed a vampire head. So this is what it ended up being.
Yeah, beautiful.
And so this is my Baron Volliger.
Yeah,
that's how I saw it from the start. And well, I had a friend who bought a printer, an FDM printer, not a fancy resin printer, but an FDM printer. So that's where I started printing. He wanted to try his printer, and I tried to figure out how to do scales and right size. So I have a couple of these heads that are different size, that are too small and too big. Okay, but this is how it ended up. This was the before 2019 had ended. I had done another custom head, a head sculpt that I needed, because I got some orc parts but no orc head. So I made an orc head, and after that, ZBrush kind of rested for a long time. I had made the heads I needed for my custom figures, and then I let it rest.
So just to reiterate, so you got in this strictly to make stuff for yourself, just stuff that you needed. You had no intentions right off the bat that this would become, some sort of hobby, that we were actually making them for other people.
No. I've been doing illustrations and things for. I've never made money on stuff that I've done creatively. Well, not much. Okay. So it had to rest. But then during the spring, I started to sculpt a little bit again. And then I sent some stuff to Len at Wolf King. And he kind of, well, it ended up me selling my first sculpt. So this is my first sculpt that was sold at Wolf King Customs.
And this is an amazing sculpt, especially for your first one that was sold at Wolf King. Like, I know it wasn't too long ago. I think maybe it was a month ago or so. We did a post in the Wolf Den where we asked, it was kind of a giveaway, and we asked people to post their favorite part from Wolf King Customs. And this one came up quite a bit from several people that said that this was their all-time favorite 3D part. And I love it. I've got one down here in my DTOFs, just that open mouth, the fierce look, like the furrowed eyebrows, like the whole thing. Like, this is just amazing.
Thank you, Curtis. This was a lot of fun to sculpt. It was. This is one of the pieces I still really like.
Mm-hmm.
I still really like. So I just wanted to show something about that. So, shall we move on?
Absolutely. So you start working with Wolf King Customs.
Yeah, and
right.
Well, this head was done in the winter of 2020. So it's during those, well, from the summer to the winter. During that period, I had done some head sculpts for Wolf King. Oh yeah, Eric. Okay. Okay, the love story. One day, I got a message from this famous guy called Stephen Bishotti.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of asked me, do you want to play? Actually, he didn't. He was kind of asking if he was sitting in church and sketching on this idea. He got this idea about some monks, fighting monks. That would be cool if they were fighting, well, evil.
So you're telling me that the God's Fire series actually originated in church?
Yeah, that's true. That is really the truth. It had not the name God's Fire. It had not the character worked out, but he reached out to me, and the two first characters of the God's Fire series, those were sketches from Stephen. Ended up being the believer and the judge, or as Stephen would describe him to me as the jerk.
The jerk. Gotcha.
Yeah, he needs to look like a jerk.
Gotcha.
So that was what I was going for. And during that conversation, we kept talking. Thanks, Eric. I'm showing this sculpt here as my almost the last slide. I just had one more slide after this one, just to show that this is, of all the sculpts that I've done personally, this is something that I'm really happy with. This is my personal favorite of the ones I've sculpted. And this idea with the skull mask, Steven's idea. Steven said it would be cool if he had a skull mask. And then I started to sculpt this. And this one took a while to do. There are many versions of it that doesn't look like this at all.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the bio for this character, isn't it that he had that skull mask, and then he got a suit of armor that was made by his father that's kind of like this really elaborate suit of armor, but he still kept the skull mask to kind of go with it. Isn't that right?
Yeah, the helmet is made by his father. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But he rebuilt it, but used the skull mask to remind himself of that he is the fallen. Yeah, it's too late for him to be saved, but he can save others.
Gotcha. And this is another one that came up in that, when we did that post on people's favorite parts. I've seen this done so many different ways. I mean, we were talking just before this, and just the way that you've used it in a couple customs. You want to kind of talk about that, like how a different paint job can make a sculpt look completely different?
Yeah, so I've used this for 2 other figures, and one of them was just me sitting and thinking about doing a tribute figure. Of course, Eric Miller, you're in the chat here. You was a big inspiration of making tribute figures that were inspired by other lines, other characters, and so I always wanted to do a Captain America tribute. And one time I was sitting by my desk and was waiting for parts to come. I had nothing to paint and nothing to do, and that's when I sat there fiddling with this helmet, and it's like, this could actually work as the Captain America head sculpt.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I started to research what parts to use, and later on I used it for a Batman custom. I thought that I could use it. I don't want to use the same sculpt for multiple Marvel characters, but I thought that I could use it for a DC character.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, and I think we got one more slide. Is that right?
Yeah, the last one. Then we're out of slides, and this is just you asked me to show. Can you show someone that has been a bit challenging to do?
Yeah, I think just the way that I see it, I know other people have commented, like, it feels like everything comes easy to Emil. So I wanted something that, like, what actually challenged you? What made you go, this is tough and I'm going to have to work at it? So go ahead.
Well, first of all, maybe you will see when we do the live sculpt, then you'll see a lot of problems happening, maybe. Then you'll realize that maybe not everything is easy and it's super hard and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is something that I want to tell everyone that's want to try ZBrush, that this is a piece of advice. I was sculpting this one and I was sculpting the dreadlocks, and I had this issue that every time I was sculpting on one side of the dreadlock, of one of the dreadlocks, if I was adding sculpt on one side, it was reduced on the other side. It was carved in on the other side. And when I carved on one side, it was pushed out on the other side. That was horrible. That was horrible. And it ended up me being not able to do this one. Yeah. So I realized what it was. Because everywhere online, when I found someone who had similar issues, then I realized it wasn't an issue. It was a feature. Something that was a part of ZBrush. And this feature called backface masking. Backface masking is not part of the version that I had bought of ZBrush. It was only included in the full version of ZBrush. So I ended up buying the full version of ZBrush simply for this feature. Yeah, backface masking you can turn this feature on. Like when you're sculpting on one side, you only affect that side that you're seeing, that you're facing. When you're sculpting on this side of the hand, there's nothing being affected on this side. But and if you're doing something on this side, nothing is affected on this side. This is a feature that I use a lot, and most people you need to have it when you do ZBrush. Okay, I had somehow done this before. I mean, until this point, I had sculpted on one side, I had problem on the other, I had to compensate and resculpt this part with compensating on this side. So for every head sculpt until I bought the full version, I had this problem and I hated it. And after I bought the version, it was like entering heaven or something. Like, I only have to sculpt this piece once. So backface masking,
So I just want to make sure everybody's following along. So up until this point, the amazing things that we've seen leading up to this, you were doing without even having the full version of ZBrush.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay.
Well, shall we move on?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Remove this part.
So next we're going to talk about your tools, right? So
yes, and we're going to enter ZBrush now. But before we enter ZBrush, I just want to show you guys what I'm having here. So this is a Vacuum Intuos Pro, a vacuum tablet connected with a USB and a pen. So there are multiple versions of this. I know that the brand Vacuum is the one that I've been using from the start, and it's I've liked it from the beginning. There are a lot of tablets, Cintiq tablets with screens.
Mm-hmm.
I've not used them, so they're probably more awesome than this. But it's, you know, I've gotten used to this. So
if somebody was getting into it, like what kind of, if you had to just kind of give us a ballpark, you know, what kind of cost they're looking at for, you know, the initial version of ZBrush and equipment to get started? Like, what are you talking?
I think, I mean, the tablet itself, let's say that's about $350 or something similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are smaller tablets that you can get. They are a lot cheaper. You don't have to have this. This is the Intuos Pro. There are other versions, and the program itself is, I think I ended up paying $800 for ZBrush, the full version.
Okay.
I don't know what the price is now, but the Vacuum is what I'm using.
Is that how it's spelled? Eric is asking.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Eric. I must say something that when I bought this one, there was I bought this a year ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
The latest one. For me, the surface was too, what do you say? You could feel texture on it.
Okay.
So I bought a sheet that makes it a little bit more
like a screen protector or something.
Yeah, you simply remove this one.
Mm.
Now I added something. I made something on the screen here. There we go.
We do have a question from legendary painter Drew Grubbs. Says, when are we going to see Emil as Azar and Zazar head sculpts? You know, that seems to be a very popular opinion, and I think we probably need that soon.
Wouldn't that be super awkward if I did a head sculpt of myself with horns and a face? Yeah.
Okay.
So let's get into
terribly. So getting into it, if you wanted to do this, we're not talking. It's not going to break the bank. Like it is. You can get in fairly reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say you could probably buy a tablet for $100 or something if you need something to try out. And you don't have to get ZBrush. I'm using ZBrush now, but there is a program called Blender,
mm-hmm.
and Blender is totally free. So buy a tablet and then you buy Blender. The interface is of course different, but it's still, well, it's just it's a matter of interface.
Gotcha.
So it's free, and it's said to always be free. So I could recommend Blender.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to actually go into ZBrush, and you're going to show us some of the main tools that you use, right?
Yeah. So now I can't see anything more, and you'll see the questions and everything.
Sounds good.
All questions are welcome. Nothing is well. I'm not trying to hide anything. Actually, until just a few weeks ago, I would never have done something like this that you asked me to do.
Yeah.
Simply because there are so many ways of doing this, and I didn't want to teach anyone, or show anyone the wrong way of sculpting, you know?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that. I know Steven has done several live streams in the Wolf Den, and I've done some for painting. I think the thing to keep in mind is there's a bunch of different avenues, different ways that we can, accomplish the things that we're trying to do in terms of, whether it's sculpting, painting, whatever. So, the things that we're showing you in these live streams, it's not necessarily the right or wrong way. It's just the way that we found to do it. So, I was talking with Eric Miller during a live stream yesterday, and it's one of those things where I don't think you really want to copy anybody's style per se, but I do feel like you can learn a lot from everybody. And
exactly, that's what I'm thinking as well. So keep if there is anything that I say that could be useful for anyone, keep those things and try to just throw away the rest of the tips that I'm saying.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I heard Eric Treadaway, he got the question from Jeremy Girard some time ago, a few weeks ago, about the process of how to do it the right way. And Eric answered, it's all about the end result. You can do different things in different ways. There are different ways how to do this. It's all about the end result. So that's what I'm going for. That's why I dared to think that, okay, then I'll show how I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So have you put my screen on?
No, hold on one second. I got one more comment. This is from Carlo from Immortal Collections. He says him and Tristan actually sculpt completely differently, and they're both working for the same. They're producing parts together, but they sculpt completely differently.
And making so amazing stuff.
Yeah,
I would love to see how you guys are doing it.
My one of my trolls back there has that head that they did. That's amazing. So.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I love that one.
I am getting ready to pop on your screen. All right. So we are seeing you now.
So, okay. If you're starting ZBrush for the first time, you'll see a lot of things. First of all, I am not using the default setup of the interface. So never mind that. Actually, Seba, he helped me set this up. It's in a better way. But we can skip that now and simply focus on what tools we're going to use.
Okay.
Because there are so many things that you can see, and it can be very frightening. And then you can say like, okay, that's too much. I'm jumping out of this program. You don't need that much to start off with. Okay. But as you go along, there are, of course, features that you're going to learn.
So we
to the right here, we have all the...
We do have a question before you get into the tools.
Okay.
And I feel like it's important to bring this one up now because we did talk about this beforehand on, do we start with a pre-made sculpt or do we, start from scratch? So this question comes in, do you ever start with pre-made parts to help with sculpting?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that is actually why to the right here, you can see the different layers I have of stuff. There is a folder here called Human. And if you take a look at this is one of a head I did recently. And when I'm going to start a new sculpt, I basically start with this one. I always make sure that I have a template because this is something that I've worked together. I have the measurements right. I have the head on figures on my table here. For example, I have this exact one here. It's like, it's just, then I know the size and I can look at it and still get what parts will be in the way. So I would prefer doing this every time, except now that I'm going to show you.
Gotcha.
But mostly every time I start with some kind of base. Now, maybe I will just start sculpting on this, or I will just have it here to see, to make sure I get the size right.
Okay.
But here we start. Oh, and then you can see in the folder here, I can show you right away. There are 4 parts here. I'm using, I have one part for the eyes, one for the ears. Then we have all of this and the eyebrows.
Gotcha.
Okay. But let's start here. So I'm not going to show all the steps, I'm not going to tell all the steps, all the short commands. I'm not sure that's interesting or not, but that would be more like an in-depth tutorial. I am going to show you the 5 main tools or as they're called in ZBrush, brushes that I'm using. Here, if you click up to the right or to the left, you see there are a lot of brushes here. So many brushes to work with, and they can be kind of, well, tempting to play with them all at once. I'm gonna show you 5 ones that I'm using, and I'm actually mainly using these 5. I am using like 99% of all I do with these 5 brushes. So, number 1, the clay build-up tool. That is simply you add stuff, okay?
Okay.
And I'm gonna hit Control C to go back and show you one thing. Pressing X activates symmetry. Okay, so that's tool number 1, clay buildup. Tool number 2, I have these connected to shortcuts on my keyboard. And that's also something to recommend to learn how to make shortcuts. The move tool. Here you go. You simply drag and move, you know?
Gotcha.
Tool number 2. Tool number 3, dam standard. If you want to make sharp lines.
What's that one called again?
Dam standard. DAM standard. Okay. Make sharp tools. Okay.
So, got a question on this. Can you use a mouse for sculpting, or is digital pen better?
Digital pen is a lot better, but you can use a mouse for sculpting. The thing when you're using a mouse, you can use the pressure sensitivity. You know, I used the number 1 tool here. Simply slowly pushing it or pushing it hard.
Gotcha.
You know, so you can exactly get Blender for free, open it, watch some tutorial on Blender, and then use your own mouse. You know,
gotcha.
Then it's free to start sculpting. So that was tool number 3. Tool number 4 is the flatten tool. You simply you flatten things. Okay.
Gotcha. So it's like smoothing it out.
It's actually no, it's not smoothing it out. It's just making it flat. Smoothing it out is when you hold Shift. You know, like this.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And the 5th and last tool, it's the standard tool. It's similar to the clay buildup, but it's more refined, I think.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, you should say like this: clay buildup. If I have maybe I made some textures to the skin or something in the end of the sculpt, then I want to use the standard to simply just raise the surface a little bit, you know.
Gotcha.
With the clay buildup tool number 1 I'm using, you actually add it on top, like really putting blocks of clay on it. Okay.
Right.
So it's destroying it.
Okay.
So those are the 5 tools. And let's get into sculpting. First of all, I activate Dynamesh. Dynamesh will make it easier to I will smooth the surface, because when I add stuff like this, I'm gonna show you how it looks. You can see that it's getting destroyed here.
Yeah, we got a comment from Steven. Says, I don't consider myself a good sculptor. Hopefully someday, but I couldn't wrap my head around using a mouse. A pen and tablet really helped me. So
yeah, can you afford it? I mean, and it makes it a lot more fun. It has to be fun.
Yeah,
it's almost like a Bob Ross thing, you know. You need to have fun, enjoy the process. You won't do that with a mouse. Okay, so you see here that it's this is a lot more detail, and this is bad details, you know. seeing it like this will look really bad. And if you activate Dynamesh, you can just control, click, and drag. I'm going to show you now. Now it redistributes the details.
Mm.
So now you can add more sculpts on top of this. I use this a lot. And you can change the resolution. So in the end of a sculpt, I would probably have a resolution of 1100 to be able to make finer details.
Right.
And if you're interested, you should look up into Divide and Dynamesh. Real cool artists, they use Divide a lot more than I do.
Okay.
Anyway, going to the Dynamesh. So we said we're gonna do dwarf today, right?
Yep, we were gonna start with a dwarf head.
So I'm going in here without a plan. I know, of course, we want beard. Something that you should add really early on are the eyes. Okay, so I just append here. I add another sphere, if I can manage to do it. Add a sphere. No, like this. You can scale it. No, like this. You want to know where the eyes are.
Gotcha.
And I've done one sphere, and then I can just mirror and veld is a feature. Now I got it on. Now I got two eyes. And activate symmetry. Now I can change the location of the eyes. But it's fine. We just need to know where the eyes are.
Okay.
So going back to sculpting. Layering out. I would say that if someone look at this and say, why do you start with this or that? I don't think I start with something typical. I mean, I just simply start like most. This is simple. Like when you're doing a sketch or when you're sculpting, it doesn't matter. You start with the big strokes. No, don't go into details too early. It's like when you're. I remember when I've been sculpting or making drawings as a kid, as an adult as well. You too early start to add details to a certain area, and then you become so super happy with it, and then you realize that part has to go. You know, it doesn't fill a purpose to the whole overall composition.
Yeah. I do have a comment here from Eric LeBron. Says this sculpt should be printed as a show exclusive after this tutorial. So our plans with this is to, I don't know that we'll get it completed today on this live stream. But, once it is finished, the plan is definitely to have them available at Legions Con. And also, we are going to be printing and painting one of these heads for somebody that's in the chat today. So just kind of throwing that out there, so excited to see what Emil comes up with here.
And if you have some ideas, suggestions in the chat, would be fun to make this together. I'm gonna do like this. I'm gonna click the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna duplicate the eyes and change the position of them because I'm gonna use these as ears. Okay, they can look any way they want, and then I actually I want to duplicate them again because I want to use them as eyebrows.
Yeah, we got a question here. Said, "Oh wow, for international fans too." Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do the drawing, but we're going to do a drawing based on the people that are in the live stream today, and whoever wins, no matter whether they're in the U.S. or international, we will be printing and painting ahead and sending it out to them. So, like I said, I'm not sure how that drawing is going to go. We may do that on a separate wheel or something else, but we definitely plan on doing that.
Yeah, you'll be responsible for that. I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah. I'll probably have to get Cullen to help me out.
Yeah, we'll pick a master of drawing. Master of drawing, yeah.
Yeah, I do have a question here for you. It says, do you have a certain type of fantasy that you sculpt for, or just whatever you think will look cool?
Certain type of fantasy?
Yeah, is there some sort of look or something that you're going for ahead of time, or do you kind of get into it and just see where the sculpt takes you? Like, kind of, do you have a game plan, or?
Oh yeah, that depends. With this one, I don't. I want to have a a beard, but other than that, I don't have a game plan for this one.
Gotcha.
But I like to have some. I mean, sometimes when it's liberating to just sit down and sculpt just because it's fun. Okay. But sometimes, I mean, you have a plan.
Yeah.
The easiest, the fastest sculpts that I do are when I have a drawing. I mean, like when Steven has made something, and when he has made a sketch, it's so easy to just take his sketches.
I know you've worked off of a lot of Steven's drawings. If you're sculpting something yourself, do you ever draw it out first, or you just go straight to ZBrush?
I sketch sometimes.
Okay.
I had an idea of me that I was gonna sculpt. I mean, do a lot more sketches, but I really enjoy getting into ZBrush, so I probably I go into ZBrush mostly right ahead with an idea. But actually, when I think about it, I have post-its at work, and sometimes there are post-its there with different sketches that I've done. And one time, me and my family were out going on a vacation, and then I was actually like driving, and I asked my wife, "Is it okay if we stop the car because I have an idea that I would love to sculpt or just to sketch?"
Yeah.
And I have the most supportive wife in the world, so of course she just, yeah, of course. So I yeah. Something that I've started to do recently is to make the nose. I mean, to split up the whole sculpt in multiple parts. Now you see that I'm using the ears, eyes, and eyebrows as separate parts, but I used, I mean, for the three-eyed one that I did, I think the nose is 3 parts. This is one separate part. This is one separate part. The jaw is one separate part. So I'm experimenting with doing that.
Gotcha.
Start making a beard for him, or at least a mustache.
I did see a question I wanted to ask you. So Steven asked, oops, wrong comment. This one. Do you get the resolution for 1100 for each subtool?
No, that depends. That definitely depends. And there are sculpts that I'm doing that don't go up that high in resolution as well.
Oh, okay.
But it's mostly I want to add some details at the end. And if that is good or bad, I don't know, but I enjoy that process. The bad thing about that is that the files will be huge. Okay?
Yeah. And what does that do if the file is big? Like, it just takes longer to, like, when you go to print it, or what is that? It just takes up more memory.
Memory for the computer.
Gotcha.
And this is one piece of advice I have to give everyone. I'll save the file here. Now you can see here that I've named it Chit Chat Sculpt 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now when I save it, I'll name it Chit Chat Sculpt 2. Okay. The next time I will save the file, I will save it as number 1 again. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there is with ZBrush that the program is crashing. That is horrible. And if you find yourself, which I have done and I know others have as well, it's super frustrating to find yourself with a finished sculpt and the almost finished sculpt, almost finished, and then it's corrupted. It can't be used.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah. And for example, so just make sure to save often.
Did have another question here. So I'm sorry if it's already been asked, but how quickly does a sculpt take on average? So how long do you spend on your average sculpt?
That is something that I don't have an answer for, because it's an for example, we could have this sculpt done before the end of this show, but it all depends on what we're going for. Dwarfs are a bit. I mean, there was a long time I did a dwarf, but I mean, when I'm going for a helmet, for example,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a long time to just get the shapes right, to get things. So you can have a sculpt done in an evening. When I started sculpting, I did multiple heads like that, or I mean, I think I did multiple heads in one evening. But nowadays, I tend to take longer. But doing it like this, like for example, we're doing a live. It's very liberating.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy doing it like this.
Gotcha.
This is a lot of fun. I should do this a lot more often. Like, okay, you have 1 hour or you have 2 hours to make a sculpt.
Yeah, and I think I don't know anything about sculpting, but in terms of painting, like I know there's certain pieces that I can bang out with no problem, and then there's other pieces that have certain details, or just based on the way the sculpt is, it takes a lot longer to paint. So it's probably something similar to that, where depending on the sculpt you're doing, could take a lot longer as well. Correct?
Yes. Maybe it's like the helmets are the one that are taking the longest for me. Maybe, and that's good and a bad thing. I mean, sometimes it's really good that you get everything right, get the details right, but sometimes you're simply like you're overworking it. So the feeling gets lost. That special feeling, the magic feeling.
We didn't know we were going to get Emil singing here. That's a little extra added bonus. Drew says he needs to have hair. There's too many bald guys in Mythics.
Got it. Let's give him hair. That's what I need. All the feedback are welcome. Wait a minute. This is good. The thing is, what kind of hair shall he have? I also want to say I always sculpt with symmetry turned on,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure at the end I turn it off and add asymmetry to it. I've started to do that lately with pretty much all sculpts to make. I mean, no eyes are the same size. I mean, for example, one of these will have a little bit more like this, and the lip will be something like this.
Yeah.
Because that's part of creating a feeling for it. Something that I'm striving for to get it feel more alive.
We got a request for him to have a big mane of hair. So
Big mane of hair. So that's awesome. The thing now we have to think about that because we have to make it possible. I mean, if it was just for the sculpt in itself, it would be fun, but it needs to
still fit on a figure.
Yes. So what should we put the hair up, perhaps? Like a big mane up?
Anthony said the dwarf needs a Curtis haircut, but no, I don't think that's right. I think let's make this a long-haired dwarf if we can.
Okay, let's make him a long-haired dwarf.
And then
let's see if we should try to do that.
And then Eric LeBron said also bags under the eyes. So
bags under the eyes coming up.
So we want an old, grizzled, bags under the eyes, long-haired, veteran dwarf.
Don't be frightened. I'm not going for the man bun.
There's nothing wrong with a good man bun.
No, but we wanted a long mane, and I need to how to make that without here is one of those things here you want to have essence, how will that look, how will it fit with a figure, what do we need to change, so that's when I'm using tools sitting here, something like this. For all sculptors.
Let me embiggen you. Hold on.
Yeah. Something like this.
Okay.
You can take measurements, both, how deep something should be, how wide it should be. It's a great tool.
Okay.
Don't ask me what it's called in English or something like that. I hardly know what it's called in Swedish. They're called
calipers. So.
Okay, then we'll go with caliper.
I did see somebody say an earring would be nice, like one earring.
One earring.
Yeah. Yep. So
let's just add something so we don't forget that.
We're starting getting some suggestions. So.
Yep, we asked for it.
Yeah, I think it's coming together.
I'm a little bit worried about that, the hair, because here we have you can append, when you append stuff, you can a sphere or a cylinder or a ring. Even if we end up not using this exact ring, I just add it so we don't forget it.
Gotcha. Somebody did say, and I don't know if this would be easier or not, like kind of like Atlas, like the hair, like ponytail or something, like maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that would be easier than, in terms of fitting on the body, because it pulls it a little bit away from the head.
It would, of course, yeah. So we can. feels like it was a long time since I did a dwarf. This was fun. There are so many ways of making hair and beards. And I think what I've learned recently, I really enjoy the method of sculpting the hair as much as possible. You can add strings of hair that look great. Some are better at doing that than others. Sebadom is a master at it. I really, enjoyed sculpting the hair, and I did that for. His name is not Joe Russo Head, okay? It's not Joe Russo, but
yeah, the hair on that one is quite exquisite. Actually, I've got it over here. I've been painting quite a few, so show that real quick.
I had a lot of fun sculpting that one, and that is, of course, I have no idea what other people think about it, but I really had. I was really happy with that hair.
Let me embiggen. So this is, I'm not sure if that's going to show on there, but that's the head sculpt that he's talking about there. So painting a few of those right now for Wolf King. All right. And then we'll go back to this view. So yeah, the hair on this one, you're right. I mean, it's phenomenal. So I love the detail in it. It makes it really fun to paint as well. I was using that Fugan orange. Eric LeBron was doing a live stream the other day in the Cabal, and that's what I did on this one. And that contrast paint, the way that you've sculpted the hair, that contrast paint works really well, and it gets in the crevices that you want it to, and just looks really nice. So
I'm glad you like it. I'm gonna say something else that I'm not doing now, but that I would encourage everyone to do. Use references.
Yeah.
If you're having reference photos printed or next to you by the computer, any kind of references for anatomy, for faces. Okay. I use a free program that is called Pure Ref, and search for that, Pure Ref, because that makes it so you can have it on your screen like an overlay. I have it down in the left corner usually. So I have a multiple of faces.
And it's just the word pure and then REF?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same in the same word.
Gotcha.
I can't encourage.
We've gotten several requests for a scar, which I'm guessing you would do as you get closer towards the end of this, right?
Yeah, scars is that's the kind of things we're doing at the end. If we want,
you're not using the symmetry mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
I have a job that is not graphic related at all. But if I can't have any graphics around me or stuff like that, I wouldn't be able to breathe. That's my feeling. Of course, I would be able to breathe, but maybe not actually, because so I've talked to my boss. I work at a school, and I have a room next to the principal, and I've asked her, "Is it okay if I have YouTube on during the days when I have?" stuff that I do that I can do at the same time. Or I understand if you say that's not okay, but I would really, really appreciate if you say it is okay. And she is, of course, she says. But I guess it's all depends on that you're doing the job that you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of multitasking and having other things going on, but that brings me to a question. While you're sculpting, typically, do you listen to something? Do you whether it's music or a podcast, or do you have something else going on in the background?
Yeah, always podcast, YouTube Live. Just like when I'm painting, I need stuff around me.
Anthony Halseal just said this guy's going to need a weapon of legendary status, probably an axe. I could see that. Yeah, it is coming together really. I mean, from starting from a circle ball of clay, this is coming together pretty quickly. So it's pretty amazing to see how fast you're able to do this.
Thank you. It is a lot of so much fun, and it is. I mean, yeah. It all depends on your demands on yourself, I guess, as well. Yeah. One thing is how much you do something, and another thing is what end result are you looking for?
Yeah,
like you can sculpt like, yeah, I just want to sculpt a few heads. When I sit and have something in particular that I'm sculpting, maybe I'm sculpting slower. I don't know, but that's not right. I must change what I said there.
We had a comment from Noah Pratt that I found humorous. Said I'd love to do this one with Emil without all of you yahoos doinking things up. But maybe he's not happy with some of the suggestions that we've gotten as we've gone along. But I think it's coming along pretty nicely.
I must say I would never have planned for the hair. I think we need to do something. Even if Drew, we're gonna give him a lot of hair, we need to do some adjustments. And of course it can't be symmetrical, so we have to change that. Might as well might as well add something. Let's use another sphere. I use a lot of spheres, I guess.
I liked, before you just shrunk that down, I liked the way that it looked from the front view with that kind of, really out there.
This?
Yeah. Well, you had it a little bit bigger before. I thought it looked really nice.
You mean you want it bigger?
The hair that you had in the back.
Oh, the hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it looked really nice. Eric LeBron said it's Otho's dwarf brother.
Yeah. I must admit, I don't know right now what to do with the hair. We have to think about that. Something will pop up. But I will take Drew's wish that he should not be bald.
I think that's looking good. It almost kind of reminds me of like a samurai, or or even like a sumo wrestler or something, where they've got their hair pulled back like that.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. Looks like we've got a name for this character as Otho's dwarf brother, and the name is Dwarfo. So that's what you're sculpting right now. Apparently, you're sculpting Dwarfo.
Dwarvo. Okay. Oh, I usually save more often than this.
Yeah. You got people already saying that they're ready to buy this sculpt right now. So
Well, thank you for that.
you got Matt Osborne says, looks like a pirate buccaneer rogue. You can see that.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
So far, except for adding new sub tools, I'm just using these five brushes.
The 5 that you talked about at the beginning.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And that's why I think that's important, is to not get stuck in the wrong way. There are so many other tools that are excellent and that you can use and you can create so many things with. And please learn those and use those. But don't feel that is the solution. That is
Right.
not the base of making a sculpt great. Not from the beginning.
Yeah.
Also, I must admit there are many of those tools that I don't know how to handle in the perfect way. So if I'm looking to create something special, then I will, tutorial, go on a tutorial hunt, I guess.
You know whose hair it reminds me of is Jitsu from Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of gives me some Jitsu vibes. Maybe he won't need a legendary axe like Anthony said. Maybe he just needs like a big chopping hand.
Well, then it will be like what is the dwarf's name from Drist, from the book of...
Somebody mentioned Drist earlier, saying that they want some more Drist heads.
That character.
I did have somebody ask, are you going to do any sort of rings or beads in the mustache or beard? I don't know that you have to, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. What do you say?
I would say if you're going to do it, I would do it in the parts of the mustache that's hanging down on the sides, like the handlebar part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might not be a bad idea. But I like it the way it looks. So yeah, I like those ears being bigger so you can see it from the front view.
Yes. I think especially the ears after the live, I think I will go in and make them more realistic.
Jesse said beads seem too fancy for this guy.
What?
Jesse said beads seem too fancy for this guy.
Yeah. We do something stupid, like I'm not serious now, but it's like, to do something that in the hair, an animal or something. Okay, I'm removing that right away. That was but that was stupid. But it goes with the pirate look a little bit to have something.
Yeah. You know what we'll have to do if when we put this head out, we'll have to have Len do. I know he's already did like a raven head attachment for that bird. We'll have to do one that looks like a parrot. We'll just go full pirate on this thing.
Yeah. Oh, and this is something about the hair that I was talking about that I've become a little bit fascinated with. Is to how to sculpt hair, you know, to start with the bigger bigger strokes, bigger parts you're building up, and then once those are in place, start to divide them, you know.
Gotcha.
And I, from the last head sculpts that I've done, I've tried that this method, and I realized that I appreciate it a lot more. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Now, when you're doing like the beard and whatnot, like, will you at the end, when you're not using the symmetry mode, will you put in like certain hair follicles on one side that's not on the other, so it's not completely symmetrical, or do you try?
Oh yeah, actually, I think that is something that this is ready for now, because I don't want to build up more details, because that adds a lot to the end, you know. Gotcha. So, for example, the beard, this top works. I'm not sure about this this part yet. Before I think I'm gonna try something. This might look really horrible, but I need to try.
Oh, I see what you got going there. Kind of going off to the one side.
Yeah, a little bit more on the side, and also spreading it up to make it feel more like he has lots of hair. But you see, this looks really strange. Okay, it's obvious to many, I guess, because now we have something here in the beginning. So that means all of this hair comes from the hair here in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, he better have some really good hair growth here in the middle, you know, because if all of this comes from this part and the rest is just going back here.
Yeah. So maybe you got to make that a little bit smaller coming out of there.
Yeah, something has to be done, because this will not look good.
Trevor Williams just popped on. Well, I think he's been in here, but he just said that he loves the hair. So,
but then I must listen. His word is my command. Still need to figure this out. Actually, one time when I was doing my first female hair sculpt, head sculpt, I had a friend at work who was who used to work as a hairdresser.
Mm-hmm.
She had to explain some parts to me as why the hair could not look in one way, because it would be unrealistic. So we had another colleague come into our room, and she's like, "Look here," and then she started to make her hair. So, yeah, I learned a lot from it. But so, I think I will. What's happening?
Well, Trevor said that he loved the hair, and then Nate just said, "Trevor, you should do yours like this."
I mean, I don't know why I'm laughing. I mean, I didn't.
Good stuff.
Okay. Here. Well, that ring in his ear sure looks tiny, even though it's just a placeholder.
Yeah. You could do something bigger. Do like a giant pirate hoop. Something.
Absolutely.
I think like you got to be careful with bearded dwarf sculpts to not have it look like Santa Claus when it's done. You know, and I think some of the extra touches here are nice. So
we're gonna make this better soon. Let's see what time we got. It's okay so far.
Yeah, we're about 45 minutes from our cutoff time. So
yeah. So we don't want Santa Claus.
No.
That's
why I like the big hair in the back, because it does kind of look a little bit different.
Yeah.
So
I think I need to change this hair.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be like this hair is somehow going up here.
Oh yeah, it needs to move upward, like it's being pulled back. I could see that. Yeah.
So we're gonna do both. We're gonna both have the hair go up more. Gonna fix that, and then we could make some of his hair here in the back come out in the front, just a little bit. So it's
yeah. I see what you're saying. So like the top part is being pulled back, but the rest is falling down.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Something. So now I'm going to smooth it over and just start to. And then once this session is over, I'm going to sit here and refine everything and change the whole thing up. So it's. Yeah, and then you just put it in the oven and look what comes out.
Drew's saying that he loves it. So,
I'm going to say this so everyone hears that loud and clear. Drew is one of the best people there is. And he doesn't come around in the Facebook group or anything like, look at what I did, look how good I am. But he is so good. So let the rest of us make sure to say that loud and clear. He is amazing. And the layers, the thin layers of paint that he put on the figures, it's so beautiful. So beautiful.
I would say Drew's flesh tones are definitely the best I've seen. Like just the realism that he gives to a flesh tone is nice.
It does. Absolutely. You hear that, Drew? I want to make sure that you hear this.
Matthew Scott said at first he wasn't sure about dwarfs earlier in the chat, and now he just said, I guess I'm a dwarf fan now.
We could scare some people off by saying we're going to sculpt a dwarf head. Okay. I need to do something here with this And the thing is, you can work so much with hair. So I'm not gonna put all the details.
On the back part of the hair, what if it's like kind of swooping to the side a little bit, like it's almost being blown by the wind?
Kind of looking if I have a dwarf standing on my
turning
desk.
His head quickly or something. Yeah.
So the head must be like this. And then we have the dwarf peg. We have it over here. We need to think that it fits the pauldrons here as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I try to make a good base, so that I know when I start sculpting, I know that it will fit and it will be easier for the next print, for the next head, to make sure that they fit.
And I think we embarrassed Drew there.
I know, and or I don't know, but I know I did not. That was not my purpose, but I really, maybe that was stupid of me, but I really wanted to have that said.
Yeah, I did some painting for Legion Shop on not this last sale, but the sale before. And I was doing that Mean Joe head, and the person to do it before me was Drew. And man, I tell you what, you talk about intimidating, trying to follow up Drew and put those out there, man. I was so nervous. I was just like, man, I hope I do this justice, but I haven't heard of anybody trying to return them, so I guess we're all right.
Yeah, I guess we are. One thing that is important is to this hobby. I mean, it's wonderful to get feedback that what you're doing is something that people like.
Mm-hmm.
It is really something that makes you glad. It's like with everything in social media and everything, when you post something, you need to have the focus on this is something that I appreciate now. Will I appreciate this if it had received 0 comments or 0 likes? Or does this one mean more to me if it gets more likes? It's a danger with social media and how you feel mentally about putting something out. And that's one of the things that I like about the Cabal. And the Wolf Den and the Facebook group that are encouraging people to show what they're doing. And we can learn from each other. And it's not like you put something out and someone will throw something at you like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't ask if you liked it, or I mean your mean comment. Maybe I asked for feedback, and maybe, or maybe I just wanted to dare to show this to someone, the thing that I'm sitting here at home painting, sculpting, whatever.
Yeah, I know, like for me, painting really is a stress relief, and it's just a way to decompress and, not worry about everything else going on in your everyday life. But the magic of the Cabal, like you said, is that you have this supportive group of people that are sharing knowledge, that are recognizing the talent from other people, and I know the plan from Lynn when he started the Wolf Den was just to have kind of an extension of the Cabal that really focused on the Wolf King parts, so that we didn't have to spam the Cabal with new stuff coming out and that kind of thing. But I love the sharing of knowledge, whether it's from the what my action figure customs have been doing with some of their tutorials and some of the live streams that we've seen lately in the Cabal, as well as here in the Wolf Den. It's just really great to see that sharing of knowledge, and just all of us kind of working together. It's nice.
I'm going to say something as well, and that is also something that, when I sit and paint or sculpt, I enjoy sitting alone, but I also enjoy the company. So when I was looking at both Louis Torres and Nikki's painting tutorial, the 2 last days, and it's like, it's nice. It feels like I'm sitting here with some friends.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm trying something that I hadn't planned first, but I'm adding some individual hairs, and I don't know. I'm trying, so
I like that a
don't
lot.
judge me.
It looks like it looks like it's a piece that came out, or wasn't quite long enough to hang out the
Yeah, something like that. I need to at least try to do something like this.
You don't know till you try, right?
Exactly. Oh, and that is something I shouldn't tell anyone. I won't yet, but I mean, I'm preparing for Legion's Con, like so many others are. And the customs that I'm doing now, it demands a lot of trying, and I mean, it's it's a little bit scary.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's good scary, It's
I hear what you mean. It's like you gotta try new things and see what works, what doesn't work, and you're really doing it for yourself, but at the same time, you hope that other people like it.
Exactly. It's exactly like that. Oh, I'm kind of stuck on the hair. Maybe I should leave it for a while. But now when we put so much hair on him, it became a big part of it. So we need to get it working.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. Like, we've basically an hour ago from now, we started with a ball of clay, and now you've got this. Like, like that's amazing.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Is the dwarf too small for a dwarf? It is, right?
The head itself.
The nose.
Oh, the nose. I don't know. Maybe it could be a little bit bigger. I think it's pretty good size though. I don't know if Anthony's still here. He'd definitely be able to tell us. Anthony, if you're still in the chat,
I'll make it a little bit bigger. It needs to be.
Heads up. Should the nose be bigger, or is it good?
So okay. So actually, I think the beard and mustache could be going into the next detail stage.
Okay.
Maybe the top could. I'll save.
Kind of getting mixed reviews on the nose from chat. Some people say they like it. Some people say bigger. So
I just made it a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger, so I think it's good now.
It's easy to make it smaller though, but I didn't enlarge it too much.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
And it's not done yet, so it will probably be changed. So, that's a quick analysis of the hair. We need to get this a little bit more up. So this is the kind of things that I'm thinking about that professional sculptors are like, no, you should never do that. That's not the process. That's not how you do it. So that's why it felt good from the start to say, we're doing our best here and learning.
Yep.
So I think we are ready to go on. I'm not sure if hair is the most fun to watch when sculpting, actually.
I'm having a good time. So
Okay.
we still got 17 people watching. So, and just for a time check, probably got
Well, one of those are
30
me
minutes.
on my phone. So that's one of them is cheating.
Oh, gotcha. Well, we got a little less than 30 minutes left. So,
okay. Then let's see. Let's go.
and I think what I'm going to do is just once it's done, I'm going to collect the names from the chat, and we'll, figure out either do a wheel or do a drawing or something, to where we're going to, once this head is done, we're going to print it, paint it, and get it out to a lucky winner. So if you're watching, you haven't made a comment in chat yet, go ahead and feel free to do so. It doesn't matter what it is. And I'm going to be collecting that so that we can draw out a name for a lucky winner. And then, like I said earlier, this head will be available at Legions Con for purchase as well. Jesse Arnold says it looks like a more epic version of how he does his hair.
Jesse, I wish I could do my hair like you do your hair. I only wish.
Oh yeah, people are bringing up that we had talked about a scar too. They say it feels like you.
Oh yeah. The thing is, we need to decide where to put the scar.
Yeah. I know that kind of the standard thing that a lot of people do is through the eye, where like, so maybe something different, maybe something.
Yes, it's absolutely something different. The scar in the face. I mean, of course, it's. I think a scar over the eyes, over one of the eyes, looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do it because that's what most do, and it's kind of interests me to realize that, okay, so there are many people who has a scar right over their eye.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean they are bad at fighting? That they were lucky when they were fighting?
I don't know.
Because I mean, I don't know.
So a couple things here. There was a question about this one says, any chance of this being offered anywhere for those that aren't able to attend Legions Con? And sorry to be that guy. Yeah, this will definitely be offered on wolfkingcustoms.com as well, through our normal sales. We just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that if they show up at Legions Con, this will be available by then. Because I'm not sure how long it's going to take Emil to finish this sculpt and then also to start getting them printed out. Eric Miller voted no scar. I've then got Matthew Scott said give him a scar on the lip, which I think is a cool idea. Somebody said across his head into the hair. Jesse said maybe giving him a damaged ear, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Could we consider that as a scar?
Yeah.
As someone like a piece is chopped off or something?
I've seen a couple of people say eye patch, but I think that would be too close to. We've got that other the Tudor long pocket sculpt that Stephen had done with the tribal lands. I think that would look a little too close to that, but
it would be, that would feel a lot like a pirate. I know we're still thinking pirate dwarf kind of here.
Yeah. I like the damaged ear and I like the scar on the lip. I think both of those are kind of cool ideas.
And we'll try something then. So see, I'm adding. I'm trying to do the beard as I go with the flow. The flow, and then I try to like this. If this is a big chunk of hair, maybe it could be split, like there's hair going in the same direction here, but it has been divided into two parts, and then you just continue and do this, like and I have done in the past that it looks that I've divided this too small, and I've seen the paint. The results of the sculpts, and after a while, I've been like, when I've been painting them myself, I have this feeling like this doesn't look as good painted as it did on the screen.
I think as a painter, like when you have those deep recesses, especially in the hair and stuff, in my opinion, that really helps catch the paint the right way, and really makes it pop for sure.
Yeah, I guess that is what I was happy with. We have a name for the no.
The not Joe Russo head.
Exactly. I did not come up with a not Joe Russo head name. And that's not his name. But that head, which we had a good idea for the name, you remember? But it's never going to be known as that now.
Correct.
So that's something that I think worked well with that hair. It comes out looking paint, but it's not too. It's not too big. No, it's not too detailed, but it's not too big.
Yeah. Let's see. Did have another one from Eric LeBron. Says over the top of the brow, across the bridge of the nose, like a slashing strike. I think I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of that, especially in dwarf sculpts. But damaged ear, that's the ticket. So we'll get another vote for damaged ear. So got a question here from Steven, and it says, since these are made to be rather small prints for figures, how do you get a feel for how defined the details need to be?
By sculpting, having them printed, seeing how it looks. And after a while, you realize, okay, when I do it that way, the end result will be like this. That doesn't look good. What if I try to make them a little bit more like this, change it, and then again see that doesn't look good at all? And after a while, I'm still learning that. I mean,
yeah, and I know I'd mentioned this, leading up to this show that we kind of talked. Like, I feel like from seeing some of your painting that you kind of it feels to me like your sculpts have gotten more detailed when it comes to that, as you've been painting them, because you can see, oh yeah, this really catches the paintbrush well, or this doesn't. And I think it goes along with that kind of symbiotic relationship that we're talking about with the Cabal, where it's like a good sculpt can make a painter look better, but at the same time, a good paint job can really bring out the details in the sculpt. So they really go hand in hand for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Nate Strong says where the details really show up is in the photos, so the more detailed, the better.
Yes. The scary thing when you have made your own customs and then you take photos of them, and then you're like, oh, I'm so happy with this figure, and then you start to take the pictures, and then you put the pictures into your computer, and then you see, oh my god, there's dust stuff here, or there's, how did I not see this stroke before, and it's a stroke on top of something, and it's like, that's messing up the whole picture. I had something when I remember when I took the photos of the Batman custom, and there was something added, and I'm like, no, it can't look like that. No, what's wrong with that? And so I think I ended up not choosing those photos where I could see that. And I thought, oh,
Yeah.
this is the worst solution to put to this problem, because
we got a question from Trevor that says, how do you do the neck peg connection area? Is there a template, or is it a template you just add to create that cavity?
I have made a hole. I've carved a hole, and I've used that. I have, but that's not to recommend. On some heads, I've actually sculpted a neck peg kind of thing, put it in here, and then you can just remove everything that takes place where the neck peg is. So to make a detailed neck peg is not hard, but the thing is, you don't want to break the resin, and you don't want to. So I should change some of my new sculpts. I mean, to make them more aesthetic looking inside of head. Maybe.
Got a good question from Nate here. It says, do you ever apply digital paint to, get a sense of the finished head before you complete it?
No. Oh, wait, stop. I have done that, but we're talking 1 or 2 times something.
Yeah.
That was when I did my first female head sculpt, and I really wanted to get a feeling for how the eyes look.
Gotcha.
My newest head sculpt template, well, what I would call, is better, and I learned from my first, so to have these kinds of templates helps for future sculpts. But I must say, sculpting this from scratch like this is a lot more fun than you starting from something else. But yeah.
Well, time check. We got about 15 minutes left. So
okay, so if this is it, you all see that we need to do something more with the hair. That this headband is horrible. The ring needs to be fixed. The ear needs to be fixed.
And we wanted to do scar on lip and damaged ear.
Yeah, and before scars on lip, we need to have details on lips, like this.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can do that a little bit better. Now I'm just showing, because I think I should spend a little bit more time after we're done with this live. Otherwise, we won't have a good end result.
And one comment that we had was damage on the lower lip, like he was eating ham with a knife. So there's an interesting backstory. He's eating ham with a knife and cut his lip.
So I'm just this is not how it should look, but I'm just.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Something like this?
I guess so. Lip scar and damaged ear. Jesse said on the hair tie, or whatever we're calling that, he said you can make it look like a leather cord. So that might not be a bad idea.
Wait, on this the band?
Yeah. So he's saying that could be like make it look like leather.
Oh, yes. Maybe also something that you've tied something, so you can have something hanging down here.
Yeah, like this. Somebody said or rope. I think rope would, because this guy looks like he would probably just have a thing of rope and throw it in his hair real quick. So
yeah, we're definitely turning this one into a quite a rough one. So that means we will add texture. I will make some stuff in the beard less floaty. I mean, more rough in some places, I think.
And we did get Trevor has said, and looks like a couple of people liked it, that they would like one raised eyebrow.
So, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to do it exactly like this, but it adds a lot.
Yeah.
Then that would probably be,
yeah, that's
something like this adds character.
Yep.
And if we're going with a ring, I think it needs to be a bigger, almost bulky ring.
Yeah.
Maybe we should keep the eyebrows and eyes like this, so you guys know that this is what we turned up. Now you see on the ears, I had symmetry, so both ears got scars. That looks silly. And of course, I need to fix the ears because they don't look good now. So maybe this is a good place to round it up.
Yeah. Yep. So
want to put the screen on?
Yeah, go ahead.
You and me.
Sure. So appreciate everybody joining for the live stream. This was a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We'll be looking to get some feedback from this. Did you like it? Were there things that you thought could have been better? So please give us any feedback that you had. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it, and we'll see what that means for the future and kind of go from there. Once again, I will be collecting the names from the chat, and we'll be doing a giveaway of this piece once it's done and printed. I will be painting it, and then we'll get it out to the lucky winner. So if you have any last minute comments, we do have a few more minutes. So if you have any questions, let us know. But what did you think, Emil? First time doing this, I kind of forced you into jumping on. How was it?
Yeah, you did, because my first reaction was, who would want to see that? But I mean, I love sculpting. I love talking to you, and I love watching other people doing lives like this. So I mean, I enjoy this a lot. I had a lot of fun with all of you guys. Even though it was hard for me to read the comments while I only saw this on the screen, I will definitely go back and check everything. So, of course,
I do have one question here so far. It says, can the winner pick the colors? Sure, I'll reach out to the winner and see if they have any preference in terms of that. Barring artistic integrity, I'll try to do the best that I can to match whatever the winner wants. So
a green dwarf.
Yeah.
With purple hair.
There you go. Any other questions, guys? Feel free to throw them out there. We got, like I said, a few more minutes. I got a lot of people saying that they enjoyed it. You guys rock. Thank you. Dwarf-orific. Thanks. Very informative and fun to watch. Will there also be painted versions available at Legion's Con? That is a good question. Maybe. I'll just say maybe. Right now I've got quite a few things I've got to get done painted for Len right now. And then I think I've got some for Legion Shop to do. If I can get to them, Len can get some printed and get them to me, I'll try to do my best to get some painted for Legion's Con. So
Yeah, you know the answer to that if you have the time or not.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Oh, peanuts and candy corn. Oh, I had a friend. Okay, peanuts and candy corn. Let's put this up. I can't see the name.
That is
Could it be
Nate
Nate?
Strong.
That is Nate Strong. And then I'm gonna
Yeah.
say that when we went to the car together to Legion's Con last year, he had this big jar mixed of peanuts and candy corn, and I had never tried candy corns before.
Yeah.
I can still remember that feeling of mixing those things in my mouth. It was wonderful. It was the best of America.
I mean, I grew up with candy corn. I mean, every Halloween and whatnot, but it wasn't until a few years ago that I had tried somebody mix the peanuts and candy corn together. There's something about the salty and sweet together that, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I had a friend from work going to America. She's from New Jersey. She got back and she had brought me these amazing gifts. She asked me what I wanted, and there was this 2 Trapjaw figures from Revelation and Mega Blocks.
Yeah.
And she asked me, "Do you want any candy?" And then we should said 2 things, and then I added, and then maybe if you find some candy corn. She didn't give me the candy corn, but we got everything else, so I'm super happy. But
Well,
still, looking forward for candy corns. Anyway, we're getting
yeah.
This was great. I mean, this was great fun, at least for me.
Yeah. I think we'll probably wrap it up here, guys, but appreciate everybody for joining. Like I said, if you have any feedback, let us know. If there's other things that you'd like to see in the future, give us a holler and we'll see what we can do. So thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Appreciate it.